Welcome to episode, what are we? Episode like 14? Yeah. Episode 14 of Sales Team Rescue. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Jeremy DeMerchant. Let me put that on the screen. Boom. There, that makes me feel important. And today I have got a special guest. So let me just make my adjustments here. Oh, technology today. Boom. All right. So my special guest today is Devansh Bavishi. He's a division director at IG Wealth Management in Fredericton, New Brunswick. And in this position, Devansh takes on the roles of both consultant for his own clients and a mentor to his team. And his focus right now is growing and mentoring his huge team of consultants. Now, Devansh is always on the search for motivated, goal-oriented, and ambitious individuals. And he leverages the organization's nationwide resources to offer industry-leading training with a fantastic mentorship and support program that he personally facilitates. Devansh, thank you so much for being on Sales Team Rescue today.
Thank you for having me, Jeremy. Here, it's a pleasure.
Yeah, I'm really excited. So for those of you that don't know, I've known Devansh for quite a few years now. We're old Toastmasters alumni, if you will. And you know, when I met Devansh, he instantly got my attention, and he's got this work ethic that I mean, I like to consider myself a pretty hard worker, but this guy's kind of nuts. So
you're not gonna mention that, are you?
I'm gonna mention it. Yeah. So Devansh was actually awarded, I think 2 years in a row, an award for the hardest worker or longest hours, or the short version of it is they were ready to start charging him rent. He's at the office so much. So I got to give you credit for your work ethic, and of course your amazing wife that supports you as well. A huge player in the team, and you've got a little one now turning 1 this week, right?
Oh my God! Yes, next week. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's crazy, but you know what? When you can find that balance, and I use the word balance lightly, right? Because you're a really hard worker, and like,
but still, I enjoy time with both families and work.
Right. And that's huge, right? You need to find that love, that passion. And you've got, I'm going to call it a balance, because the family side of it understands your why behind the work side of it.
Exactly. And my wife hasn't left me yet, so.
Just say hasn't left me, period. Don't say yet.
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding. No, you guys are adorable. So the reason why I want to have you on the show, though, is because you have this interesting position that I'm sure a lot of our viewers can relate to, in that you're in a sales role and you're also in a sales leadership role. And this is a big deal because one, I find that it gives you the ability to know exactly where your team's coming from because you're there in the trenches with them.
Exactly.
But it can also provide challenges because you're trying to balance two worlds. So your professional role, we talked about the work and life balance, and now even your work balance is going, I'm a sales person, a sales professional or consultant, and then I run a team, and a significant team. And so tell me about that balance. Like, how do you find the balance just within the workplace?
I always believe, Jeremy, in leading by example. So if I'm accomplishing something, I set it by example that I'm doing it, anyone else can do it. So I put my personal goals in front. So this year I started with what's your why? Why are you doing what you are doing? And I started sharing my why. That's how I started my year in the January, asking everyone, it's a new year, first find out what your why is. And then let's go after that why. So I started sharing my why, and I'm not ashamed to share my why because I'm passionate. You know how passionate I am. I'm passionate about what I do. Mm-hmm. And as I said, I lead by example. So I get my team involved in my client meetings. When I sit in front of my clients, I take them with networking events. When I go to, I take them to, if I host a seminar, they are with me. So I incorporate all of them in activities I do. Plus, I myself incorporate in their activities as well. So we can both guide each other to what we can improve. Because even being a leader, I don't think I'm perfect. I need to improve. So that's why I get them into my activities so they can guide me whether if I need to change anything. And when they get me involved in their activities, I can guide them what we need to change. So that's why we support each other.
Yeah, I think that's huge. And I know from experience that if you really want to learn something, go teach it to somebody else, right? And it force yourself to get into the nitty gritty that sometimes gets overlooked. So
And for
I think that,
finding the right balance in my schedule, I'm a very organized person. So I have those time slots assigned that this is what my coaching time is. This is what my one-on-one time is. This is what my client meeting time is. This is what they can use my time for any financial planning help or any of your client meetings or anything like that. So I have that section divided in my calendar. All of them have access to my calendar, so they can see what's going on in my life. Plus, Beth helps me a lot to stay on track with everything.
yeah. So Beth, so who is Beth on your team, just so that everybody knows?
So Beth is my executive assistant. So she has been with me over 3.5 years now, and she knows my practice inside and out.
She's your lifeline, right?
She is my lifeline.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so I think you brought up a couple really good points. One, when you're leading a team, being able to have somebody there that can support you, because we've got strengths that can work really well. And you and I have similar personalities in a lot of ways, in that we're great at sales, we're great at leading teams. And you're more organized than I am, but you know that if you can take some of that off your plate, it frees you up for those higher level activities.
It does.
And that's a challenge, especially for newer businesses starting out. They think they have to be everything. And so they're trying to build a team, they're trying to find the right people, they're trying to schedule their own stuff. And just having that support is such a huge advantage. Now, I do want to ask you one other question around organization. So you talk about you've got time set aside and blocked off for coaching, for being a consultant, working with your clients. And when you organize that, do you do what's called batching, where you've got like Wednesdays are my client days and I just book them back to back, and then Thursdays are my coaching my team days back to back? Like, do you take that approach?
Yes. So Mondays are my coaching days. I don't schedule any of my client meetings on Mondays. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are my client meeting days, and my goal is to accommodate 15 client meetings in 3 days. So that's what I accomplish. And Friday is my continuing education days. So I put that towards my education, as well as and in all of those times, I incorporate my marketing time, my prospecting time, my recruiting time. So all of those gets fixed into those time zone. But that's how my 5 days are divided.
Gotcha. So give me an idea now. Let's be honest with the audience. How many hours a week are you working?
Do you want an honest answer?
Yeah, because and this is why though, because there's people all around the world watching this or listening to this, and they want to, and I want to show real, I want to show raw, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because
yes,
if we sugarcoat
it's not
it,
easy.
we're not helping.
It's not easy.
Right?
Yeah. So
Right.
I spend conservatively 60 hours a week on what I do, with everything combined. And you know how passionate. That's why I have built what I've built in such a short time, because I'm so passionate about what I do. So I really don't feel like I'm working, and it's such a such a crochet when people say that, but that's what I feel, because even after I go home, I have a 1-year-old. I spend time with him. We go to park. The other day when I called you, we were at the park. He was in the swimming pool. So even I carve that time around. He loves taking his afternoon naps on my shoulders. So on weekends, while he's taking nap, I'm rocking him. I'm studying during that time. So I get both accomplished during that time. I still study, but I spend that time with my son.
So there's a couple pieces there then. So one, you're a crazy multitasker. that's most people don't have. But part of it is just being really effective with that time. So it's not about, I say not many people are good at multitasking, but it's not so much that you're doing multiple things at once. Is that you're very effective and very aware of how to be using what we call net time, no extra time. Right. So if
where my energy should be focused.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're hanging out with your son, he's sleeping or napping or whatever, And he doesn't need your full attention in that moment. If you can use your attention to help grow that business, which is then, in place to help build a, growth for your family, right? That's why we do what we do.
Exactly.
I think it's really, really smart. Now, if we're going to dig into the honesty part, though, we look at it and go, oh, I remember when I had a part-time job, right? 40 hours a week.
Yes.
Right. But how does that work? Like we mentioned the support, we mentioned the why. And actually, I want to point out one other thing is you talked about how much you love what you do, because you've designed your business in a way that it doesn't, I'm sure sometimes it feels like work, but for the most part, it fires you up. You like what you do in helping people as far as clients go. You like what you do in helping grow consultants and grow the team. And so you still have energy at the end of the day, where a lot of people come home, they're like, I'm done. Stick a knife in me, I'm done, right? Or a fork in me, I'm done. And so they're just exhausted. So for someone that's in that situation, what advice do you have? No pressure.
I'll go back to the same thing, Jeremy. Do what drives you. I saw really good, and we have seen so many of those videos. If you divide time, like we start working in probably 25 years of age, and we retire standard retirement at 65. That's probably 2/3 of our lifespan, and we spend that lifespan sitting in a 4x4 office or whatever the size of the office, or behind the desk or in front of a laptop. And if you are not, it doesn't drives you, it doesn't put energy back into you, then you shouldn't be doing that. You should be looking at other options and do something what actually drives you, motivates you, and not just you, but when you are satisfied innerly, your family can see that as well, and your colleagues can see that, and they get that energy. Your family is more happy. It's just all around a positive vibe all around you.
Now, so you're saying if you're feeling exhausted all the time, you might be doing the wrong thing. Now, I want to challenge you on that a little bit. So could it be that someone is doing the right thing, they're just doing it wrong, or the way they organize their life is wrong? Because one thing that you have that most people don't have when they're solo in sales anyway is an executive assistant. A lot of people struggle.
I didn't have my first 6 months.
Okay. So you were solo for 6 months.
But yeah, I know it can get exhausting. Yeah, I agree with you. It is a lot to manage being an entrepreneur. And again, in a sense, I'm an entrepreneur with IG because I'm self-employed. IG doesn't pay me any salary, so I'm self-employed. I have to build my own career and build my own team around me and everything. So I started with doing everything myself: admin, prospecting, marketing, client meetings, emails, every single thing, phone calls, and it can get exhausting. So I completely agree with you. And that's where it comes down to that. I knew where I wanted to scale my practice, and I knew what wasn't revenue generating for me, and I assigned that to someone who could do that for me. And so, as you said, no extra time, so I can spend that time more into revenue generating activities for me. So the first few months are struggle for sure when you're starting a new career. And that's where you will need a lot of support from your mentor and your family members. So have a good mentor who actually trusts you, whom you can sit down and cry at the end of the day, or rant at the end of the day, or just take your frustration out, and have a good family support.
Now, that's another good, man. You're making all these good points. So having a mentor, someone that you can cry to, vent to, rant to, whatever. This is something that I ran into a lot, because running your own business and running sales teams, like there's a lot of stress, right? It's and I love what I do, and there's days when I kind of want to pull my hair out. And what I found really upsets the balance is when you take all that frustration from the workday and you bring it home, right? Because if you just work 60 hours a week, and when your wife sees you and you're just going, whoa, and you're just gonna vent all over the place, there's no happy wife.
That's not a healthy relationship. No,
exactly, right. And so that creates animosity. So a lot of people talk about having a mentor to help you get better, to improve yourself, and accountability, and I think that's really, really important. But a part that we don't talk about, and you touched on this, is having someone outside of your team, because you can't vent to your team, right? And outside your family, because you should not be venting to your family, at least not regularly. Someone else that you can just let it out with.
Yes.
And I
And
think that's
then
huge.
that person who wouldn't judge you for being who you are. And if you're
Right.
struggling, they don't judge you that you are struggling.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's, and I mean, I know you and I have had this conversation before. I've been in times when I'm just like, dude, Devansh, I got to talk to you. I got to vent, and I don't have anywhere else to go, right? So thank you for those times. But it's a huge thing. Awesome. Okay, so I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about the actual team building part. So in the intro, we talked about some of the things that you look for when you're building a team, but give me the Coles Notes version if you were to describe your ideal consultant. So we're not going to worry about like age or gender, like any of the demographic information, but let's talk about psychographic. Like tell me what that person is like from a psychographic perspective. How do they think? What are their attributes? When you say, I see it in that person. What does that look
So I see it, I look for more of soft skills.
like? Okay.
And I have a process which helps me vet those soft skills out. So I'm looking for someone who wants to make an impact in the community, who wants to make an impact in people's lives. And impact, I say, is significant because what we do, I had a conversation with and I know I'm going off topic, but client yesterday that when you go to a doctor, you put all of your trust in doctor, that what doctor is going to tell you, you're going to take that medicine and you're going to feel better. You put your life in that doctor's hand. And same thing, people do it with us as a financial planners. They put their financial future in our hand. So there is a lot of responsibility on our shoulders because they share their goals, they share their deepest concerns about financials, and we guide them, or we guide their emotions to get them to the financial future. So if we mess up, their entire life is messed up. So someone who really wants to make a positive impact on people's lives and make long-term relationship, because any client I take into my practice, it's a 30-year relationship commitment. So people who like to stay involved in those lives for long term, they like to build this relationship, be involved in the community, because that's another uh, quality I share with my team is all of us like to be involved in our community and make an impact. And who likes to be their own boss, who doesn't like to tell them how much they're going to make next year. They set their own goals, because we don't set goals for our team members. They tell me, and what are their goals for this year, what they want to do, and then I mentor them towards their goals. Because I can put goals into you or anyone. Like you need to come to me to what you want to accomplish. Right. So they come to me with their goals, and then I guide them. So someone who is very passionate about, they have a passion to helping people, helping community. They want to make good money. They want that good work-life balance, and they enjoy what they do. So again, work-life balance isn't going to be in first few years, but there is a way to achieve it in the long term, like any business.
Yeah, and it's that's a really good point. Sometimes you got to put that effort in up front, right? And I was having a conversation the other day with Jim Padilla, who was on episode number 3, and he talks a lot about building that return on your investment, right? And that return on your time investment. So put the time, put the effort in up front, but make sure you're building the systems that you're going to be able to see that exponential return. And I think that's huge. And that's kind of the difference between someone looking to build a business versus looking for a job. And there's no right or wrong, right? Like,
no, there is no right or wrong. Yeah.
I've been running a business for almost 5 years now. And I'm going to tell you, there's days when I'm like, steady paycheck would be nice, right? And then there's days when I'm like, I could never achieve this if I was working for somebody else. So it's back and forth. And so anybody tells you that entrepreneurship is this nice, smooth ride up, doesn't work like that. But if you have good mentorship, you've got someone that you can vent to, that you can cry to, that you can, confide in, and you've got the proper support like Devansh, from a mentorship perspective and guiding you through building a team, setting your goals. Something like that makes a huge difference.
And again, when you are in this trenches of first few years of building business, Jeremy, you should never, it feels daunting, but you should never sway away from your long-term goal. You need to know where you are going, and that should drive you. So you have your long-term goal and you break it down into a yearly goal, into a monthly goal, into a daily goal. And in daily goal, when you are accomplishing it, it might look like a chore, but every single activity will amount to that long-term goal in the future.
So let's unpack that just a little bit, because I think that's a really hot topic that people don't give enough focus to. So I come to you and I say, Devansh, I want to make, I'll let you pick a number. Say I want to make, I don't know, 100 grand, 60 grand. Actually, I can't ask you to answer that because that's not, I was going to say what's a normal, but I'll say this.
No.
Yeah, there's no normal. Exactly. Let's just say I come to you and I say, I want to make $100,000 my first year. Okay. Now you don't have to give the specific details, but give me an idea of how you're going to work backwards, because of course we can build back from, okay, you want 100 grand? Great. This is your commission. This is how much you need to sell to get that, and break it down. But if we get down to the activities, because we can't always control the result of the sale, right?
So we have a very defined activity tracker. Mm-hmm. So, and it can go either way, Jeremy. Like when I started and other people started, everyone who have been here for a long period of time, they all had a different way of defining success. So some people say that once by the time you hear 1,000 no's, come and talk to me, you will be successful by it. Because if you have heard 1,000 no's, you had 100 yeses, and if you have 100 yeses, you will be on your way to success.
You're laughing.
And some people would have defined that, you know what, every week if you have 15 client meetings, you're going to be successful. And some people get motivated that every phone call I make $20. So they actually sit down with $500 with $20 bill, and every phone call, even though no one answered, they made $20 because 49th call someone answered and they made $5,000 from that phone call, right?
Right.
So everyone had a very different way to define success, but the way I did it when I started, and that's how I coach to my advisors, is we have a tracking. So how many calls you made, how many people answered that call. After they answered the call, did you book the meeting? If you booked the meeting, did you actually had a meeting? If you had a meeting, did you actually close the sale? So we go through that entire cycle. So if they are making a lot of calls but not talking with a lot of people, then we know that they are calling at the wrong time. If they're talking with a lot of people but not booking the meetings, then we know that they are not saying the right things. They're booking the meetings but not having the meetings, then we know what. So based on that, we can coach them what's the gap.
Get the optimization portion of the whole thing. So you've got your whole sales cycle, or the whole life cycle of, I guess sales cycle is more appropriate in this context, for the client, and being able to identify each of those, what I call conversion points, and
exactly.
and measure those and optimize them so that you're increasing every single one of them. So that's huge. So one thing I want to touch on before we jump into our lightning round is you talked about an example of where people will put a dollar value on the activities. And I think that's really, really, it's creative, but also very, very smart. Because if I say, I'm going to go make a dial, I've got a list of people that call, it's 100 people. Ugh, right? But you're right. If I know my numbers, if I know that through 100 people, I'm going to get 10 conversations, I'm going to get 5 meetings, I'm going to close a sale, my average sale value is $10,000.
Yeah.
Right? Then I know 100 dials equals $10,000. And I can just do the math. And so every dial's worth, right, whatever the number is, $10 or whatever, or $100. So yeah, math, not my strong suit anymore. But like, if you think about making that call and you're like, hey, I know that if I make this call and I stay consistently doing it, this call is worth $100. Would you do it?
Exactly. Yeah. Whether they answer it or not, this call is $100.
Yeah, exactly. So that's
awesome.
That I think that's a huge shift in how people look at activity, because we tend to get caught up in it and it becomes a roadblock. So I think that's key. Awesome. Thank you. Now, lightning round time. All right. Devansh, my friend, as we know, coffee is for closers. What is your favorite kind of coffee or comparable drink?
Black coffee.
Do you have a special brew? Do you like mild or dark or
Dark roast
light?
black.
Dark roast black? All right. Love it. Love it. What's the number one book or movie you recommend to your consultants or people that lead teams in your organization?
There is just so much material comes out every year, but my all-time favorite movie, which motivates me personally, is The Pursuit of Happiness.
Will Smith. Yep. Actually, I had the opportunity to see Chris Gardner himself speak on a stage. And what a guy. Amazing. Amazing. So I love that movie. Awesome. Very inspirational too, especially when it comes to doing whatever it takes to get the result.
Exactly.
Now, who is someone you'd consider to be a mentor in your life?
Great question, Jeremy. And you were talking about mentors, and I always, I actually have a mentor in my office. So I treat my assistant Beth as my mentor.
Mm,
I share my goals with her. These are my goals. My wife is my mentor, so she keeps me accountable, and my regional director is my mentor. So I go and talk to him, and he keeps me accountable. So I have three people, and then my clients are my mentors as well, because in every single client meeting, I ask them, "Are you satisfied with my services, or could I change anything? Could I improve?" So they give me feedback because I'm serving them, so I need to listen to them to see what am I doing.
awesome. And I think that's neat because often people think a mentor is someone that's, like 3,000 steps ahead of you or 10,000 hours ahead of you. But ultimately it comes down to who's going to help you get the result. And
Exactly.
sometimes it's going to be guidance, right? Someone like your regional director, they've been there, right? But then there's other people that you just need the accountability, you need the push, you need the sounding board, or you need that person to vent to, right?
Yes.
So awesome. Thank you for that. Now, here's my favorite question of the whole interview. What's the strangest thing you do in your daily routine to stay in your game?
I heard one of our senior vice president in one of our training, and he said, "Our when we wake up, our day is driven by emotions. So if we are not feeling well, it drags us down, and then it defines our day, and that defines our actions, and that defines the outcome." And he advised to just reverse that psychology. So he would say that, you know what, if you want to be a leader, or if you want to be a division director, then start acting as a division director and start behaving how a division director will behave. So even though your emotions are guiding you certain way, you're going to act the way you want to be, and with that actions will drive you to what you want to be. So I always keep it in my mind is what I want to be, and if I am that person, would I do what I'm doing right now, or what
Mm,
actions do I need to do to get there? And that's what defines my actions. So I always keep that in mind is where I want to be, what I want to do, and if that is the person right now, how would that person act?
that's huge. My dad used to tell me, dress for the job you want, not the job you have. And if you take that the extra step, right, whether the dressing represents what you're actually wearing, or the activities you're doing, or the words that you're saying, I think that's huge, right? And I know Tony Robbins talks about when it comes to relationships, you want to attract this kind of person. Well, then you need to be the kind of person that would be attractive to that person. So I think it's all interlocking. That's awesome. So in short, you're saying walk the walk.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. No, and I think that's such a huge thing that we overlook, right? We get stuck in our heads, we get stuck in our bubble, and we don't keep ourselves on our game. And it's easy to go, oh, this is my week, I've had a rough day, whatever. But I know, is it Sean Stevenson has something he calls when life works list. It's a list of things you do when everything is like on its A game, and you just do
Yeah.
those things anyway. And it helps keep
Yes.
your mindset there, right? So awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So Devansh, I want to tell people where they can get a hold of you, whether they want to. You represent investors group throughout Fredericton, right?
Yes.
So I want to throw your email up here. I haven't done this before, but we're going to say, bam, here's your email, devansh.bavishi@investorsgroup.com. So if you are looking for a career in sales in Fredericton, in the Fredericton area, and you want to be considered for something in this realm of IG wealth management and have an amazing rock star like Devansh be your guide, shoot him an email. And also, if you're looking for a financial advisor, What's your official? Well, I mean, you're division director, but financial advisor, would that be the proper term to call you? I know there's very specific regulations.
I want, yes. So I'm working on my CFP. So I will be CFP in November. So once I'm CFP, I can use financial planner designation.
Awesome. Okay, perfect. Well, guys, so reach out to Devansh, and remember, this is episode 14 of Sales Team Rescue. And if you want to get all the previous episodes, go to salesteamrescue.com. We will see you here next week at 2 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday. Guys, remember, get uncomfortable, get results. Devansh, once again, thank you so much.
Thank you,
guys,
Jeremy.